What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you as well. How are you this fine evening?
I'm pretending it's colder than it really is.
I mean, in the next couple days, it's going to be
chilly.
like 49.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's going to get pretty damn cold,
I'm
and I'm excited for
manifesting
it.
that by wearing my coziest marshmallow sweater.
That's the best idea. I should be manifesting too, but as we've
Here you
established,
are, in short sleeves.
I can't do that in this here room. Too toasty. But you can come here for our hot and toasty takes on video games, which you will hear about in this episode of Team Chat Podcast, and you can listen to those on a weekly basis on podcast services around the World Wide Web, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and others. Full list is available on our website, teamchatpodcast.com/where to listen. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Threads, and Instagram. You can join our Discord server where we have a lot of great conversation when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you'd like to help them make the show bigger and better, you can head over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, just like Allison H, Fuchsia, Ark, Brandon W, Bro Mogan, Super Saiyan Ace, Erica L, Elise F, James K, Michael B, Michael S, Snooty Boots, Susan M, and Zach S. Don't know why I'm trying to read some
really
names wrong there, even though they're in a list I was reading. But apparently my brain likes to do the little old switcheroo sometimes. But you can head over to patreon.com just like they did and support the show for as little as $1 a month. And in return, we give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery. You also get at the $5 tier new episodes of our subsidiary show early, Team Chit Chat, where we talk about things that are not video games. So we try to do about 2 episodes of those a month. So you'll check those out, get those on the early access. It's great stuff. But if you can't do that, that's no big deal. That's totally fine. We understand. And there are plenty of ways that you can support the show for free, such as telling your friends, writing us reviews, and listening to and liking and commenting, all that good stuff, wherever you're listening to or watching the show. And for that, we are grateful to each and every single one of our listeners, viewers, and patrons alike. I got to get the words under control tonight.
Yeah,
There's
you're
a lot
struggling,
of episodes.
bro.
There's a lot of episode to go.
Luckily, today is a me-heavy episode.
That's great. I thought about that earlier today, actually, because I was feeling a little tired, just kind of like,
you get to mostly turn your brain off.
Oh, okay. I just got to get through the intro. Failing at that today. But once I get through that, I can just go, beep.
Then you can start coasting. It's the reverse of last week when Jarrett did his Star Wars Outlaws
I'm
review.
still just recovering.
Yeah, I mostly get to turn my brain off during those times.
But before we get to the main topic of the day, let's get a little bit of news and what's coming out soon in our Moment with Mogan.
Okay, we're actually not as far into the month as I originally thought, so there's not a lot on the list this week. Out already, just in case you missed it, we have Towers of Agazba in early access for PC and PS5. The My Sims Cozy Bundle was just released for the Switch. Stray also got a Switch port.
Oh, nice.
Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is out now for PC, Xbox Series X and S. Genshin Impact, I'm not sure if this is accurate. I feel like this has been around for a long, long time, but it says Genshin Impact is finally, air quotes, on Xbox Series X and S. I kind of assumed it was already there.
I did too.
That could be a whoopsies on the list.
Huh.
But coming out as of this episode's air date, On Your Tail is out for PC and the Switch. I hope it's about kitty cats and little kitty tails. It could be about anything. Snow Bros Wonderland is out for Switch, PS4, and PS5. I don't think that's a Mario Brothers game.
I hope it's just like snowboarding or skiing. It's like what were the old ones back on the N64?
SSX Tricky.
Yes.
Oh, well, I don't think that was on the N64.
Or whichever one of those. Just those old snowboarding games and everything.
God,
Maybe it was like that. Maybe it's that.
Snowboarding games need to make a comeback.
They
Those
were
are
fun.
great games.
As someone who's never done it. It's a fun game to play.
30 Birds. That's the name of the game. 30 Birds is out for PC on November 28th. And then closing out the end of this month, we have Amazon, The Explorer's Legacy for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. And then looking just a tiny smidge forward into December, because I'm actually both shocked and hyped that they're putting it out at all. Fitness Boxing 3.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, Fitness Boxing is getting a new installment. That's coming out on December 5th exclusively for the Switch.
Hopefully that game can be way more exciting than the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight that happened last weekend.
I didn't see anything about it. What happened?
It was the most boring thing ever.
Well, what happened?
Well, Jake Paul won. Did not. No one knocked out, but it was slow. They meandered around in circles, just around each other, barely throwing punches. It was not worth staying. I mean, Mike Tyson went all 8 rounds, and they were 2-minute rounds, and he went the distance, which is incredible because it did not look. It looked like early on he was a little old and slow.
I was about to say he's in his 50s, right?
He's 58.
Oh my God,
But
he's
I mean,
almost 60.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still
I'm
in
sure
pretty
he's
damn
like
good shape.
still super
But yeah, but I mean, obviously going up against, I think, Jake Paul, who's 27. Look at this, us talk about sports. Yeah, it was just not, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that.
I mean, I would have at least expected something out of it to hear that it was that's like the worst possible outcome.
Yeah,
That it was just kind of boring.
It was just there, and it happened, and it ended, and it was like, well, okay, that's over with.
Was it boring enough that people are crying rig?
Some people are, yeah.
Oh, people think, okay.
I've already seen so many videos on like TikTok, Reddit, or whatever, people being like, look, here's video proof Tyson is pulling his punches, or like not going after him, or
also
or
just
something
be
like
that he's
that.
58 years
it could
old,
be.
guys.
There were a couple
Yeah,
times
it
he
could be.
legit like stumbled and stuff like that around. So and not necessarily because he got hit. So,
I did on Sunday.
yeah.
I did this motion
Okay.
to do a big stretchy. I
Yeah.
put my arms over my head for those of you that aren't watching the video, and I did a big stretchy. And as I did so, I felt something pop at the back of my neck.
Uh-oh.
And I fucked it up so bad.
Oh, no.
I actually had to go to like the emergency chiropractor. I was
Really?
like, I'm not going to deal with this
Oh,
all day.
shit.
I have to go to the chiropractor.
I'm sorry.
To be fair, the chiropractor actually didn't help that much. It was
Oh.
a shitty chiropractor. So
The joint?
The joint. It was the joint.
Well, looks like we're not getting
Not
a
that we're
sponsorship from them.
Not that we're biased, but don't go to the joint chiropractic. It is so useless. I've been to good chiropractors before. This was not one of them. It gave me mild temporary relief, but basically I just had to like do really intense yoga all of Monday when I could
Yeah.
actually move again to like get
Jeez.
it back into. And it's still like kind of sore, but that's just to illustrate I am not 58. And all I did was a big stretchy, and I fucked up my musculoskeletal system so bad I had to like emergency go to the chiro. So if Mike Tyson at 58 isn't out there winning fights against somebody literally half his age, that's just how life works.
That's just how life goes.
That's
It's how the
just how it
cookie
goes.
crumbles sometimes. But to that point, no, I went to the gym on Sunday morning. Did some just
You went
like
to the gym without me, bro?
I thought you canceled your
I
membership,
did cancel my membership.
and I was doing those hip abductor ones like that,
the adductor.
adductor things.
Ooh, those are rough.
Sitting and standing is rough today.
Did you do both the ones for the outies and the innies?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the innies
And
is
I
the
did,
one that
and I
fucks
did
me
weight
up.
that felt appropriate. Like
It didn't feel
was,
that bad.
It was like it was a good like burn, but didn't feel like I was straining too hard. But oh my god. So yeah, no, like again, hats off completely to Tyson for even attempting it, because we obviously have no room to talk.
No.
But let's move on a little bit from that,
Oh, yeah,
because
some other
we
big
did
news
have some
happened.
big news, and that is the Game Award 2024 nominations are out. And Mogan, I have to tell you, I have never felt, looking at this list of nominees for Game of the Year, I've never felt more of a sham of a gamer, because I didn't touch a goddamn one on this list.
Oh my god. Okay, well, can you do, for my old eyes? Can you do a control plus
Oh, yeah.
to make that bigger?
Make this up a little bigger.
Do a
Here
little
we go.
control, please.
Boom, boom. There we go.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so we're just going to read through this and really quick, like top of our head, who we think is going to
And we're not
win.
going to cover
And we're not doing
every
everything.
category. We're just doing the ones that, yeah.
Yeah, because we have other stuff we want to talk about.
We'll do that when we actually do the Game Awards.
Right,
So this
right.
is just like
Which I
our
believe-
overview, brief predictions. We're going to go really fast through this.
Right, and the Game Awards, for anybody wondering, will be on December 12th at 6:30 Central, so
And
7:30
we
Eastern.
usually do like a little watch along in the Discord, like not necessarily in the channel.
We don't have 5 hours to sit there on camera and
oh
talk
my
to y'all.
god, dude! I gotta eat during that stuff.
Right.
That's at least 6 pee breaks. But join us on the Discord if you
We'll
want
be
to
having
just
a little chat along there.
just watch it and chat along with us.
All right, but let's go through the big categories really quick. We have Game of the Year, Astrobot, Metaphor Refantasio, Black Myth Wukong, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree Edition, and Balatro.
So I think Balatro and actually a little bit Metaphor Refantatio. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I was kind of shocked to see both of those nominated for Game of the Year.
I personally, I was too for Balatro specifically.
Yeah, Balatro specifically. It's like an indie game.
It's the indie game. It's kind of the underdog. I have at least seen that played. My buddy Michael has like shown it to me, and I'm like, oh, interesting. I might give it a shot at some point. But as far as just like being an indie underdog game, I was like, I want Balatro to go in.
Yeah,
so that's
I'm so
personally
happy
my vote.
for it. I'm really happy for it to be here. Even though I have haven't played it, my actual vote is for Astrobot because it's a game that I know I'm going to play, and I feel like as soon as I do, I'm gonna love it.
Right.
I would love to root for Metaphor Refantatio, but I just know from experience with Atlas games that I would probably really enjoy it for the first 30 hours, and then I would feel so burnt out on it, I would just have to quit and I would never go back to it.
Because that's Atlas is
they do the Persona games. They do Persona and Shin Megami Tensai.
Oh, wow.
And I've played a lot of both. And so I just know that like I have a limit, and I know that Refantatio no longer fits into my lifestyle.
Right. So this list does bring up an interesting point that I think we need to talk about. In that
DLC.
The DLC. Shadow of the Erdtree is DLC for Elden Ring. And the Game Awards put out a statement saying that before the nominees came out, which basically was them like jumping ahead of the fire a little bit in this, to let everyone know that, hey, we are now going to consider DLC, side things like that, to games as possible contenders. Basically, any and all games in their forms are open to being considered for Game of the Year. And so, obviously, that opens up the discussion of how do we feel about that?
I feel like it shouldn't count. I'm just gonna say like hardcore. I feel like especially because Elden Ring already had during the year of its actual release so many nominations and it won a lot of them. I feel like it doesn't belong here.
Yeah.
And you know, just DLC in general. I understand that it's a huge meaty DLC, but it's not a new release.
Yeah.
If you didn't already have the rest of the game and you hadn't already played through the rest of the game, you wouldn't be able to play the DLC anyways.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it shouldn't count.
I'm not honestly sure where I land on it because I read their statement. I'm like, oh, sure, that makes sense because in this case, the DLC for Elden Ring is, it's long, it's beefy,
I mean,
it's
I have
meaty. It's like a part 2 expansion.
Put in a huge amount of effort on this, but I just feel like it shouldn't count.
But that's what I was going to say. My then follow-up point to that is, but not all DLC is that way. But also then my counterpoint to that is, counterpoint to my own counterpoint is, but not all games are big, beefy, meaty things like Elden Ring.
Also true. I've played full games that are shorter than what this DLC is by half.
Sayonara Wild Hearts. We played that on stream. It took an hour, maybe an hour and a half tops.
Yep.
So it's kind of an interesting thing that I think shows the range of the consideration that I think does have to be taken into consideration when you're talking about like what can be considered Game of the Year. But yeah, it's just like
my answer is just no. I just don't think it should count.
I've seen other things said that like maybe they should have that as a separate category of like DLC, like or follow up thing, and I kind of agree with that.
They already have the category of best ongoing online game.
That's true.
So this doesn't really fit into that same category. Obviously,
because
it
it's
doesn't
not
fit
like
into that same category.
You're going to say Fortnite is
but
still
what I'm saying
eligible
is
for Game
there's
of the Year.
a precedent for making a category like that.
Yeah.
Because obviously as we get into modern gaming times, a lot of games are like this, where it's the same game, but it gets a huge new addition, or it gets a total reskin, it gets a big revamp, it gets a new balance patch that fucked everything up, and now everybody hates the game.
Yeah.
So it's definitely squishier territory, but in this specific case, I don't think it should count.
Yeah.
Also, I am personally furious that Tekken 8 isn't nominated for Game of the Year.
I was shocked, honestly.
I'm quite perturbed.
I don't know. Maybe I was just in a Tekken bubble, but I thought it was going to.
Game of the Year material.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a fantastic game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It feels kind of weird too. I think for the nomination, I feel like if they had given us a little bit more heads up that DLC was going to be allowed, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe that would have softened it, but to release it a little bit before, it was kind of like precursor signaling, like, oh yeah, Elden Ring. And I understand it's like trying to get there. Like I said, I haven't fully just landed on where I fall with it yet, but I kind of in the same boat. It feels weird to have it, but I don't know if it's maybe just like it's only weird because it's the first time we're having to have this conversation about it, of it being like a truly something that stands alone on its own, but it is still, I know, tied in. It's a confusing conversation, but anyway. All right,
answer
let's
is
jump
no.
through this. Mine's I need more time to process it. Okay, here we go. Content Creator of the Year, we'll skip that one. Mobile game, skip. Studio game direction. We'll do this one real quick. We got Atlas for Metaphor Refantasio, Sony Entertainment for Astrobot, Sega for Metaphor, Team Asobi for Astrobot, From Software for Elden Ring, PlayStack for Balatro, Game Science for Black Myth, Wukong, Bandai Namco for Elden Ring Shadows of the Erdtree, again, not for Tekken 8, Local Thunk for Balatro, Square Enix for Final Fantasy, and Studio Zero for Metaphor ReFantazio. I mean, just numbers alone, it feels like Metaphor has a pretty good, like Atlas, all these other ones that touch that.
I mean, it's got 3 noms on there because so many teams worked on it. Atlas, Studio Zero, and what's the other one? Sega.
Yeah.
Atlas, Sega, and Studio Zero. So, like, I don't really know how they decided how to is just one of them going to win?
Right?
So I'm confused about this entire category.
So for that, I was going to say it would go to Balatro again, but it has 2 nominations.
Well, I mean, I guess they'll just give it to the game, and then it will affect all of this. Sorry, I solved the mystery in my head already.
They give it to the game, and then anybody who takes on it. Yeah. All right, ongoing game. We talked about that. I'm just going with that one, Helldivers, honestly, because that'd be cool to see something new win.
I think Final Fantasy 14 is going to get it again.
Oh yeah.
People fucking love that game.
Anticipated game. We have Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Monster Hunter Wilds,
Woo!
Ghosts of Yotei, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, and Grand Theft Auto 6. Mine's Ghosts of Yotei. That looks so good.
Mine goes to Metroid. So technically, mine goes to Monster Hunter Wilds because like I said in the Discord, I feel like it's a sure thing.
Sure.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I feel like there's still a chance it won't come out next year. It might get a delay. So I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket, but I feel very confident about putting my eggs in the Monster Hunter Wilds basket.
Yeah. All right. Best adaptation. This is so like shows and stuff like that. We have Fallout, Like a Dragon, Yakuza, Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft, Arcane, and Knuckles.
I feel like Arcane's definitely going to get it
like
right.
Arcane
It's going to be
yeah.
Arcane.
Narrative. Metaphor ReFantazio, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Silent Hill 2.
I really hope it goes to Senua's Saga
Same.
for this one, just because, it didn't get a ton of noms on the list, but I saw it in there a couple of times, and I feel like for both narrative and audio design, those two seem like the ones that Senua can really win.
Family game, Astrobot, Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, The Plucky Squire, Princess Peach Showtime, and Super Mario Party Jamboree. I'm going with Plucky Squire because, we reviewed it on the show.
Yeah,
we talked about it.
I want the Plucky Squire to win this one. I feel like it's going to go to Astrobot.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
When I saw this list, I was like, there's a new Super Mario Party game? Because I know we talked about it very briefly, but the information left my head so fast.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anyone talking about it. Which means it must not be very good.
Mario Luigi Brothership, I've not heard anything much about. So we'll see. Action game: Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Black Myth Wukong, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2. I really want to play that. Helldivers 2 and Stellar Blade.
Yeah,
Again,
Stellar Blade got a nom.
Helldivers 2 for that one.
Yeah.
Games for Impact: Indica, Tales of Kinzaru Zhao, Closer the Distance, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Life is Strange Double Exposure, and Neva.
Neva! I believe in you.
One, right?
Yes, I have.
Nice. Again, I'll go Senua's Saga. Action Adventure, we got Star Wars Outlaws.
I couldn't believe it got a nom.
Finally, a game that I actually played made the list.
You ranked it a 6 out of 10.
Star Wars Outlaws, Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, and Silent Hill 2.
I'm really torn about this because I feel like the Bloober team did such a good job with Silent Hill 2, and people I feel like pre-release, people kind of had no to low faith that the remake would actually be any good.
Yeah.
So I would like them to win just on principle. Hey, look, you did a really good job.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's probably... Oh, the other one that I feel like should win, but it's probably not going to, is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Yeah.
I would love to see it win. I just don't think it's going to. I feel like this category is going to go to either Astrobot or maybe Silent Hill 2. I feel like Silent Hill 2 stands a good chance.
Because I played it, I want it to be Star Wars Outlaws. I want
Just
something
because
I
you played
played. All right. Art direction: Astrobot, Metaphor ReFantazio, Black Myth Wukong, Neva, and Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree.
I want this one to be either Neva or Metaphor ReFantazio, because if there's one thing you can say about Atlas and the Persona-like games, it's that they have visual impact, baby. They swing for the fucking fences with those games.
They look great.
But Neva is beautiful.
I'm gonna go. I'll go with that too. I'll go with Metaphor on that one also.
Nice.
Independent game: UFO 50, Animal Well, Neva, Balatro, Lorelei, and the Laser Eyes.
For once, I feel like the indie games category is fucking stacked.
I think Balatro, though.
Between Neva, Balatro, Lorelei, and the Laser Eyes, and actually Animal Well is I'm not sure that you would say it's air quotes doing numbers. I don't have the data to back that up, but I know people really like that game.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've never heard of UFO 50, but these
haven't
other
either.
4, I've heard a lot about all of them.
I do think Balatro though for this one,
Yeah,
especially
I feel
since
like
it's
Balatro's
on
gonna
the
take
nominee
it.
for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to do a
think it's gonna win.
little sweep in this category.
Esports. We can actually talk about this one because Valorant. We're Valorant players now. So that's our vote.
That's our vote. We can skip. You don't need to know the nominees.
Multiplayer game, Tekken 8. That's our one
Tekken 8.
there.
It's
Finally.
got to be Tekken 8. Come on.
The other nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, Tekken 8, Helldivers 2, and Super Mario Party Jamboree.
If anything other than Tekken 8 or Helldivers wins this category, I'm going to go to Jeff Keighley's house. He's going to have to argue with me face to face over this.
I obviously want Tekken 8 would
It
be
has to
fantastic.
be
I hope it's
Tekken 8.
Tekken 8.
God.
Helldivers 2 would be a nice second.
I wouldn't be mad if Helldivers 2 won, but I would be disappointed.
Let's see performance. We have Hannah Tell, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Melina Juergens for Senua Saga Hellblade 2, Humberly Gonzalez for Star Wars Outlaws, Brianna White, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Luke Roberts, Silent Hill 2. I'm going with Humberly Gonzalez from Star Wars Outlaws.
I'm
SK.
going to root for Melina Juergens again.
Ah, nice. Good pick.
RPGs.
RPG, Metaphor, Final Fantasy VII, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden
The
Ring.
main thing I want to say about this is I couldn't believe Dragon's Dogma 2 got on the list.
Yeah.
That was pretty shocking to
Although
me.
I heard a lot about that game and how good it was,
I heard
like
a
when
lot
it
of
first
very
came out,
mixed
and then
things.
heard nothing else about it.
Ooh, okay, I heard a lot of very mixed results.
Fighting game. Again, Tekken 8 should be the winner here.
Tekken 8, all these other
ones
games
are
can go die.
Multiverses, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising.
If Tekken 8 doesn't win, again, Jeff Keighley is going to personally hear from me from my own mouth to his face when I bite him.
All right. I think we'll do this as our last one here, or 2 more that we'll do
Yeah.
here. Score soundtrack, we have Astrobot, Metaphor, ReFantazio again, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Cellblade, and Silent Hill 2.
This did make me think, oh, maybe I should go listen to the Stellar Blade soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really give that game any attention other than what Snooty Boots told me about it. And I don't super recall if he mentioned much about the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So I want to go see what all the hubbub is about.
I'm going to go with Metaphor on this one
Yeah,
just
me
because
too.
I know that the Persona games
They
have
fucking swing for the
slapping
fences, bro.
soundtracks. So
Yeah.
I kind of go with Metaphor there as following up to their legacy.
Yeah.
And then last one we'll do here, debut indie game. We have Animal Well, Manor Lords, The Plucky Squire, Pacific Drive, and Balatro.
I'm a little surprised that they did both indie game and debut indie game as separate categories.
That's true.
Has that always been
And
the
can't
case?
make a DLC category? God!
Right, yeah. Okay.
Never mind, I have decided.
But for this one, I did hear a lot about Manor Lords. I would like it to go to the Plucky Squire.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, Animal Well and Balatro, I feel like those are both games that are going to be kind of like hard to beat.
I'm with you. I would love Plucky Squire. I think it's going to go to Balatro, though.
Yeah, I think all of these are going to be Balatro.
So, lots of interesting games. Like I said, I played squat diddly on these lists this year, and I was like, well, fuck.
Oops.
But
Instead, we went back to Valorant.
we did, and
Game from
had
2020.
a great time there.
time.
But still very excited to see what games will eventually take the winners and which game will be crowned the
King of all games.
The King of all games game of the year for this year, which was another side to this. I kind of felt like the whole thing of like making the story and the press statement about it. I just thought at this point, kind of like already implied to me that Erdtree is going to win game of the year.
Yeah. It feels
It just
bad.
kind of felt that way.
Feels bad.
And it kind of felt like you just like, okay, because you're like, again, they were already getting ahead and saying that like, hey, we're going to have this separate, it included in this game of the year category. First time this has ever been done. And it's going to be, before the nominees came out. So everybody's like, okay, that's Shadow of the Erdtree. It's announced and it's revealed to be true. And everybody's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But in my head, I was immediately like, that just means it's going to win.
And think about how incredibly sad you would be if you were any of the other developers who made a new game,
Right.
And you
new
lost
entry.
to DLC.
Yeah.
I would be furious.
Okay, I understand
Yeah.
the points now. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
I'm joining
No
this
DLC
side
on
of
the
history.
list, Game Awards.
All right, so that brings us then to our main topic of the day, which we have another exciting.
Speaking of,
Yeah,
Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Oh my! Tell me
my
about this
God.
game. I'm going to turn off my brain now.
Just turn it all off. Oh, I forgot to bring my Mario and Luigi keychains.
That's right. You showed me you had BFF keychains for us, and I don't have it in my possession.
The guy at GameStop was like, "Here, have these best friend keychains," and I got a little Mario and a little.
You're getting all the
Luigi.
free stuff. You went to the card shop the other day and he just like handed you free cards, which I'm very appreciative of because they were for Star Wars
gave them to
Unlimited.
Jared.
No, and I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you. And then you get the free stuff there. I went back to the same card shop and bought the same cards and expressed interest in the game, and he didn't give me shit for free.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So I was like, what the hell?
Well,
so this just happens to you wherever you go, I guess.
so.
My God.
You got to learn to be friendlier, Jared.
I feel like I am. I don't know what
Sure
I'm doing
you
to turn
are.
people off.
Well, have you thought about wearing like thoughty little outfits when you go out?
That's what it
Maybe
is. I
that's
need
the
to show off my
problem.
chest a little more.
All I'm saying, I wear a lot of crop tops.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I need to start having
Maybe you need to show
a very deep V shirt.
Have you heard of the mid Swift?
Ooh.
It's the term that was coined because you know how Taylor Swift wears a lot of crop tops
yep.
and like shows her midriff, but you never see her belly button.
Yeah.
People call it the mid Swift.
The mid-Swift.
Isn't that so funny?
Incredible.
And that's what I do. I don't need people to see where my umbilical cord used to be. So it's all about that mid Swift.
You know, it's always fun whenever you work for places that they give you swag. And I know this is a left turn
What a
into our
tangent.
conversation, a tangent here. But, you know, it's great whenever, like, the place you work, they're like, oh, here's a t-shirt or whatever. Because, like, sure, whatever. It's a cool, like when I gave you Team Chat shirts, it's awesome. But when you're working somewhere else and they give you stuff, it's cool. This one company I worked for at a time, though, they wanted to make these new shirts with, like, their new catchphrase, their new slogan on it and everything. They handed out these shirts. I don't know what the hell went wrong in the production of this or if they just gave everyone, but I got the right size shirt for me. This thing, the V on this collar, no lie, went down to here.
Oh my God.
A t-shirt, not like a button.
Betwixt the breasts.
It was just down there and like had words on it and everything. And like,
Where were the words?
like to the side, because it was like said like it was a very dumb fucking
my
shirt.
God.
It was a big stretch for like a kitschy like inspirational slogan that just like fell flat. I'm pretty sure it was just like believe or so or breathe, some shit like that with like
Live, laugh,
anagram
love.
thing on or like whatever the word is when you like an acronym. Yeah,
acronym.
And so anything like that. But yeah, the V on that thing was ridiculous. I'll have to see if I could find the picture of it because, of course, we took one. But anyway, neither here nor there. Tell me all about Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Yes, we are here to talk about the new Brothership IP from publisher Nintendo. Developer actually has a little bit of history behind it. So I think that the Brothership games were previously developed by like a third party called Alpha Dream, but they filed for bankruptcy in 2019. So after they filed for bankruptcy in 2019, Nintendo filed a new trademark for Mario and Luigi in January 2020. So the game we can surmise from that the game has probably been in development at some various form for about 4 years. And then Nintendo didn't actually announce the game until June of this year.
That's what I was about to say. Like the announcement to release was quick.
Yeah, so it had a short runway for marketing, which always makes me like a little nervous because I'm like, if you didn't give a game at least a year's worth of marketing time, that either means that something is dreadfully wrong with it, or you just don't think it's going to be that big of a seller, which I kind of feel like might be the vibe in the room from Nintendo on this one, but I don't know why, because my feelings on the game so far, this is first impressions.
Okay, it's not full
This is
review.
not a full review. My impressions so far are that I really like the game.
Oh, nice.
I'll just cut straight to the point. I'm having a really good time with it, but that wasn't how it started. So when I first booted up Mario and Luigi Brothership, I looked at no reviews. I saw one trailer and I said, that looks like a game I would enjoy.
Well, because it's
and that was
Mario.
back in June. What I especially liked about the trailer was the art style. So I thought the art style, it's still very in line with most Mario games that you would know and love, but it's just got a few little tweaks here and there that I think really make it visually pop. So that like immediately got my attention, along with the fact that it is specifically about Mario and Luigi as brothers. I feel like thematically, to me at least, that's important. I'm like, who cares about Princess Peach? Look, don't get me wrong, I love her to pieces. If they make a Peach and Daisy sistership adventure, even though they're not technically sisters, I will be so on board with that. Like, I can't believe they haven't done that yet. That game would sell like hotcakes. But so I really like the idea of actually honing in on their relationship as brothers. I think that's really cute, even though they obviously don't speak in real sentences like we do. And I was also very intrigued by the turn-based combat of the game.
I did not realize that that's what it had until you mentioned that the other day.
I think you maybe just forgot that from the trailer
Oh, okay.
because I do
or maybe
believe
I
it.
didn't pay that much attention to the
Maybe
trailer,
just
too.
didn't
I
pay
could have done
much
that, too.
attention. It could be. Anyway, so both of those things made me immediately think back to games like Mario RPG, a very old Mario game, but again, it was that turn-based combat style.
Right.
Or it really reminded me of Paper Mario.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even though it's not in the style of Paper Mario, the combat, I was like, oh, that looks like Paper Mario. And I liked Paper Mario a lot. So both of those things really had me feeling like, you know what? Nintendo doesn't usually majorly drop the ball with, their flagship games, more or less. So I feel like Mario and Luigi Brothership is a pretty safe bet. I was just at the game store. I already knew I was going to get Veilguard. Mario and Luigi was right there. I was like, yeah, why not?
Just throw it in the bag.
Let's just throw it in the bag. So of the two games, it's the one that I decided to play first because I felt like it would require significantly less mental investment than Dragon Age Veilguard, and I feel like I'm definitely correct about that. But that being said, the game's got a lot more going on than I thought it was going to. So the initial stretch of about 2 to 3 hours in my case, maybe a little bit more than that, of what I would consider to be like the true tutorial section, that felt like a slog. I was like, oh my God, this game is too simplistic. I feel like it's not going anywhere. Is this all there is? Those are the kinds of feelings that I was having. But then I've now unlocked enough of the accoutrement that I'm like, oh, okay, it's actually, the game is much more fleshed out than I originally thought it was. This feels a lot better now. So that's where I'm at now. I've gotten past what I would say is like the first sort of quadrant of the game, and I feel like there are going to be 3 more main parts and maybe a little bit of bonus stuff for specifically the boss. But seeing how the game has basically laid out its architecture, I feel like that's how it's going to play out.
Very cool.
So I feel like those next 3 parts and maybe the boss stuff are going to be a lot more action-packed than I initially feared. So the setup to Mario and Luigi Brothership, classic Mario and Luigi setup here. They are chilling in the Mushroom Kingdom. They're just having a good time. Peach and all the Toads are just chilling at the castle. Everybody's doing good. And then just a rift opens up in the sky.
Dear God.
Classic tornado rift in the sky, comes down, snatches up Peach and the Toads, gets Mario, gets Luigi, and then it also gets Bowser and all of his little children. They haven't showed up in the game for me yet, but the tornado did get them.
Okay.
So the tornado of Portal Doom got all of them, and as Mario and Luigi get sucked up in the tornado together, they're scrambling for each other. They're trying to hold hands, but at the last second, they lose contact, and Luigi goes falling through the portal to his doom, probably.
He's dead.
He's fine. God, how funny would it be if he was just dead and it was all about Mario just mourning his brother?
Right, and it's a very dark
Dark.
Mario game.
It winds up on the winners and on the nominees list for the Game Awards under Games for Impact, which usually means that they were depressing.
It's just Mario going through the whole game. Oh, no.
Yeah, kind of. But anyways, so you get sucked up through this portal and you get spit out. You fall through the air catastrophically. How does Mario keep surviving these falls? We don't know. But he does survive it. He lands on an island and he is alone. Luigi's nowhere to be found. And the one big knock that I can put against the game straight off the bat is that Mario and Luigi don't talk, at least not vocally. They don't say words out loud other than gibberish and, much like Pokemon, their names. So Mario and Luigi will both say the words Mario and Luigi ad nauseum.
Oh, no.
It's a little too much.
Wait, so there's not no voice acting talking to each other, even in cinematics, anything like that?
They say Mario and they say Luigi.
That would get old.
That is it.
That would get really old.
It's a little much. So anyways, Mario Crash lands on this island, and it's an island they're definitely not in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Sure.
They are instead, as you shortly find in this little tutorial section, that you have crash landed on the world of Concordia. And it's called Concordia because, all of the denizens and the whole shtick of this land is that they're loosely based on electricity and power outlets. So cord, you have to plug in a cord.
I was thinking that they were just all plain people, the old Concords,
Oh, no.
Not that.
No, not
Okay.
that.
Well, I just thought maybe.
No, instead...
We have had Cappy before as
we
a
have
character,
had Cappy.
so why not a
Instead,
plane?
the little denizens are like little squat, basically toad-sized people.
Okay.
That look like they have outlet sockets for eyes, and it's actually really cute. So they look like they've got like all of their little cords on top of their heads are like tied up into little ponytails and
Nice.
stuff. So it's actually very cute. I like the little cord people. I think they're quite adorable. But they quickly tell Mario, and you also see this in the starting cutscene as well, that the world of Concordia used to be one big continent, and something happened, some catastrophe that also opened up the rift between them and the Mushroom Kingdom. Some catastrophe happened that pulled their continent apart, and all of the different now islands are progressively drifting further and further away from each other.
Uh-oh.
So you see in the intro scene that all of the continent used to be connected by the Uni Tree. There we go. I'm gonna have to like remember names.
Pulling into some Norse mythology there.
Which is it's basically the Erd Tree or whatever you want. Yeah, the Erd Tree. That's the one.
From Elden Ring, everyone. It all connects.
It's the same tree. It's all connected. No, the Uni Tree used to be like their entire continent's source of both power and life. Mm-hmm. It's not called electricity. It's called connectar. Ha. Like nectar from a plant, but
okay. All right. Nintendo stretching a little bit with that one, but I'll allow it.
So just smoosh together electricity with plants, and you get the gist of the world.
Got it.
So the Uni Tree died. Something killed the Uni Tree, and that's what caused the continent to break up. And all of the different lighthouses that used to get their connectar from the Uni Tree lost power. All of the denizens of the world are in dire straits because they need connectar to live. And now they're like, oh fuck. Well, first of all, we're stuck on our islands because they don't have like airships.
Yeah.
They don't have boats. They didn't need them before. They're not seaworthy. So they're just totally disconnected from each other. And you as Mario, and later you eventually find Luigi during the tutorial stage, he's not that far away. You go like 10 minutes in and there he is. And you're like, oh, there he is. Got it.
Just like your dumbass couldn't hold on for a little bit longer.
Just couldn't hold on a little longer. So you reunite with Luigi, and then you meet your other main character, Connie. Get it? Connie, like
conduit.
You got it. You get it.
I'm picking up their electric metaphors here.
So Connie is a botanist in training. It's like a botanist, but for electric trees. It's so cute.
Incredible.
The flavor, they really like laid on the atmosphere and the flavor for this game. They went all in. So you meet up with Connie, and you, Connie, Mario, and Luigi are on the first air quotes island. It isn't really, it's actually a ship. It is a sproutlet that Connie managed to save of the Uni Tree and grow into a smaller version. So the idea is that you, Luigi, and Connie are going to basically pilot your floating island ship around the seas, and with your new version of the Uni Tree, first of all, grow it, make it stronger, but you're going to do that by finding the rest of the islands and the lighthouses and reconnecting them back to your new Uni Tree.
Got it.
So that's the goal. You have to go out, find the other islands. You literally do that by navigating the endless sea that this world is on with, I guess there were no other land masses other than the one they had. So it's all just ocean out there. So you've got to go around, figure out where all of the islands are, and then get to their lighthouse and reconnect them to the main ship.
Got it.
That's the gist.
And also where, since you're on a actual literal ship, we're not talking about Mario and Luigi's relationship in the title. It's the ship of the brothers, the Brothership.
Although I think technically it belongs to Connie.
But they've claimed it as their own. They've staked the Mario and Luigi flag.
They've staked the Mario and Luigi flag.
You gotta love sometimes how on the nose Nintendo is with their naming conventions.
God,
I love it
so
sometimes.
Funny.
It's so funny.
So you also do get, obviously like in Mario Odyssey and many other Mario games as well, you do get a little companion person that comes along with you. And this game's little companion, a la Cappy, is Snoutlet.
Snoutlet.
It's like a little, it's not quite, but it kind of looks like a little flying pig.
Oh, and then because the pig snout looks like an outlet.
Looks like an outlet.
Snoutlet.
You're getting
there.
You're totally there. You're totally there.
I'm there with the art department.
I thought I was going to hate Snoutlet, but for whatever reason, the little voice that they gave him, the little gibberish voice he has, I do find it quite endearing. I like him quite a bit,
like,
actually.
when can I buy my little Snoutlet plushie?
Probably at the Nintendo store in New York City.
Probably so.
Yep. I'm sure they've got them right now on the shelves.
Oh, man. Should check.
Yeah,
They might.
But anyways, I also like Snoutlet because he actually likes Luigi more than Mario, which I think is just good for him.
Luigi needs a friend.
He lives under Luigi's cap instead of Mario's. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Nobody ever favors the poor Luigi over Mario.
No.
So this is Luigi's time to shine. But that brings us to the meat of the game, which is you and Luigi navigating to these different islands, which you fire yourselves out of a cannon to get to initially, because again, no boats, no airships.
Right.
How you gonna get between the islands when you find
They
them?
really should have been based on Concords, not electrics, because then they could have just flown around everywhere. Because, but then it also works that they have to be a ship, because as you know, electronics and water don't mix.
Nope. Yeah. So anyways, it's dicey stuff out
It is.
there. So you have to shoot yourselves off to these islands, and you as the player control both Mario and Luigi more or less at the same time, but not quite. So let's talk about the game mechanics and some of the issues that I have with the game, because most of the problems that I have with it do boil down to the mechanics. Number one, and this, I can't quite decide if it's the fault of the game or if it's the constraints of the Switch, it lags a little.
Oh, really?
Like there's a little bit, like every now and then I'll pick up on some frame stuttering.
Like on TV mounted?
On TV,
Docked mode?
Docked mode.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not great.
Like it's not super noticeable, and I think by this point I've just sort of gotten used to it enough that I don't
Yeah.
really see it anymore.
But still.
But when I first started up the game, I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? What? My
Weird.
My
Like I would expect that sometimes in handheld, but not for
No,
for
not in
docked.
docked mode. So that kind of surprised me
Mm-hmm.
because I was thinking, wow, a Mario and Luigi titled game that has a little bit of performance problems.
Right.
That was pretty surprising to
Yeah.
me. So that was a little shocking. The other problem that I have really boils down to how you maneuver Luigi specifically. So you are mostly Mario. You control Mario with the left stick, obviously directionally, and then Luigi just kind of follows behind you at his own pace. And he keeps up with you. It's not like he lags behind all the time. He just follows behind you wherever you go.
Sure.
You jump Mario with the A button. You can jump for Luigi with the B button. You do not have to manage Luigi's jumps necessarily, because like if you as Mario jump up on a ledge, Luigi will just come up behind you on his own.
Okay.
Thank God, because in the beginning that wasn't immediately clear to me. So I was doing both.
Oof.
I was jumping with Mario and then immediately jumping with Luigi for B, and I was like, oh my God, is
That
this going to be the
feels-
whole game?
Very redundant.
It wasn't. It wasn't like that. Luigi can manage himself just fine for most of the game's basic mechanics, and then eventually there's some more complicated things that you have to be a little bit more judicious with passing responsibility back and forth between Mario and Luigi.
Quick question. Can this game be played as 2-player?
I don't think so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I expected, because when I first saw the stuff for Brothership, I was like, oh, sweet. Sam and I will pick this up. We'll have a great time. But, like I said, I didn't realize that it was going to be more of a turn-based, in combat and stuff like that. But obviously, still a mix of platforming.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, okay. But if you can't play 2-player, then yeah, that's probably not going to be a winner.
And we'll get into why, because
Okay.
it's really kind of hard baked into the game in the way that Luigi specifically interacts with the world. So when you are walking around as Mario and Luigi, there are all kinds of like little things sprinkled around the lands that you can do related to platforming or to like resource management, basically, that you would like to have both brothers for. For example, there's economy in this game. There's money. You actually need those coins very badly because both of the brothers have gear. It is like an RPG in that they have shoes, they have their overalls, they have hammers, they've got gloves, and they've got accessories. And you can buy different versions of all those things or acquire them through battle that increase the brothers' stats. We'll get more into the stats later. The long story short is that they both have items that they can equip. Where was I going with this?
Combat, how they work
Combat,
together.
How they work together. Oh, yes, the economy. So my point being, you need coins. And the world is full of them. You can get them through combat by defeating other creatures, or you can just find them all over the place in the form of boxes that you can break open once you get the hammer, turnips that you can pull out of the ground,
Nice.
and when you pull them up, they do look like little plugs. Get it? So cute.
Nice.
They call them something more clever than just turnips, but I
Right.
forget what they call them. Anyway, so there's turnips that you want to pull up, there are boxes that you want to smash, along with a couple of other things like that. Now, if you wanted to, let's say that you come across a portion of the map that has both boxes and turnips, you can divide and conquer. theoretically. You can hit L, like when you're within range of things that Luigi can do on his own, you can hit the L button, and Luigi will go and he will start to destroy boxes or pull up turnips on his own.
So he's basically Nix.
He's basically Nix. Yeah, that's great. You want him to be able to do these kinds of things so that you can go do other shit. But he actually, his autonomy isn't quite as smart as I would like it to be. A great example of these are these other things called sprite bulbs. So if you pull out these little like fairy-like creatures that basically look like little light bulbs, there's some other form of currency for upgrades that you need later. It's not super important, but the sprite bulbs, when you pull them out of their nests, they split up and they go all over the place, and you and Luigi have to run and catch them. So obviously you can just hit L to make Luigi go get them, but like if you as Mario are already going in one direction, when you hit L, Luigi will go the same direction as you, and it's like, no, I need you to split up because the sprite bulbs split up. I'll go this way, you go that way.
It seems more like he's programmed to follow Mario than to like chase the objective he's sent after.
It's more specifically just that like he's not quite optimized as much as I would like to be able to have that kind of knowledge of, okay, if the player is already going this way, the optimal thing for this AI character to do is go the other way so that they can meet back in the middle once they've divided and conquered, and he just doesn't really do that.
And can you pick where you like you say there's stuff off to the side? Do you like have like a reticle that you like then choose to like say like, hey, go here, or is it just like you just give them the command?
It's not quite that smart. It's basically just something
proximity
has to be
based.
It's proximity based. Okay. Something is on screen. You'll see a little outline come up over it that basically shows this is something Luigi can interact with. And when you hit L, he'll just go straight to it.
Got it.
So it's more like whatever is closest to him. That is what he'll interact with. That also means that boxes he's closest to, he'll go to those. And if you as Mario are already trying to open those boxes, you're just duplicating work.
Yeah.
So but the whole problem with the Luigi thing being that he's just not fully optimized, I feel like, which that does kind of suck because it makes his autonomy feel less impactful. But you do need him for other stuff in the game. So that's just one of the other little problems that I had with it mechanically. Now, when you actually get into combat, this is where things get kind of fun because, again, Luigi's jump is B and Mario's is A, and that actually does hold over into combat as well. So when you get into combat, it's turn-based. As far as I can tell, it doesn't look like the game will ever give you additional party members like Mario RPG, for example. That doesn't seem to be the case here. I think it's just going to be Mario and Luigi, but they have a whole suite of abilities at their disposal. And when I was originally playing the game in those first few hours, that ability list was so small that I was like, oh my God, this is going to get so boring so quickly. But I am now at the point where I've gotten more abilities, more stuff is opening up, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see the vision now. But you only start with jumps. So when you like get into combat, you hit the jump button. It's like one of your little menu items. You can go through items, you can flee, or you can do jumps, and then later you can do other abilities as you acquire them. But initially it's just jumps. So you obviously like hit that you're going to do a jump, and then Mario or Luigi will run to their respective target and begin to jump on them. Now you can optimize these jumps by continuing to hit either A or B in time with the jumps to maximize them. So like you can go in with Mario, A, and then A again. Oh no, you have to divide it because how those basically work to like get a better jump than just a regular jump is Mario or Luigi has to help the other one out. It's about the brothership, right?
Right.
So you'll go in with Mario, you hit A for the initial jump, and then you have to time B for Luigi's action in time with Mario's next action so that you can go in with the final A. So it's basically A, B, A, but you have to time it all correctly for the jump to go off and get an excellent rating. And then it does a bunch more damage than if you had fucked up any of those items.
Nice.
Any of those order of events, I mean. The same goes for Luigi, but it's reversed. It's B, A, B.
Oh, okay.
And I have forgotten so many times that Luigi is B and his jumps just won't go off, and I'm like, fuck, I keep forgetting that he's B.
Well, and because B is
it's down. It's X.
It's the X one. Yeah, because Nintendo's backwards anyway.
Yep.
So you're already because that feels backwards. Because that feels like that should be Mario's button.
Yep. So it's already the reverse of what you think it's going to be. Yeah. So actually, there is a little tiny bit of skill there, in that you have to remember that they don't share the same exact inputs. The same goes for when you're using their hammers. You can do both A and B and brother combos to basically make those stronger. And if you fuck it up, the combos don't go off properly. It's a huge bummer.
Yeah.
And then eventually, this is the part that I got really excited about. You start unlocking special items that give the brothers like much stronger combo attacks.
Oh, okay, cool.
So there's a leveling up system in this game. There are stats, there's leveling up. Now's the perfect time to talk about this. The stats are very basic. It's stuff like HP, defense, attack is actually split into multiple categories because it's your basic attack via jumps, so you get a various jump rating for both of the brothers. There's a separate attack for how strong your hammers are, and there's, I think, luck in the form of stash, which is hilarious. So the higher your mustache, the more luck you have.
Oh my god, incredible stash!
Yeah,
I
isn't
first
that
thought
so
like
funny?
as in like loot where you kept all your things, not
No,
stash
as in
and mustache. Incredible.
It's amazing. So there's stash for luck, and then there is I just had it speed. There's a speed stat. So Mario is usually the faster of the two. Luigi, I think, has more HP and defense. It's very like in line with their characters. So Mario's better at attacking, Luigi is better at defending, and just kind of being your tank more or less. But all of this to say that when you level them up to a certain point, so like initial level ups just increase their respective stats a little bit. You get more stats for whatever each of the brothers is good at. When Mario levels up, he gets more attack. When Luigi levels up, he gets more defense, so on and so forth. But then when you get to like every 10th level up, you get a new like special power-up item for the brothers.
Nice.
The first one of those is both the red and green shells. So these unlock these more powerful brother combos, which are a lot of fun and a little bit more mechanically intense than some of the other, basic abilities are. So for both of the shells, they kind of reintroduce the lore of Mario and Luigi soccer. Because like Mario's red shell attack can only target one enemy. So basically what he does is he'll bring out the red shell, and then you have to A and B the shell between the two of them like a soccer ball.
Got it.
And then when you get to the end, the shell has built up enough power that Mario goes into this like crazy spin kick, and it's full of fire and stuff, and it goes straight at the enemy and obliterates them.
Nice.
Luigi's is similar, but a little bit different. So with Mario's, you're passing the shell between the two of you. With Luigi's, his can target all enemies, which is very helpful for multi-enemy combats. So instead, his shell goes towards one enemy, bounces back to Mario, bounces back to an enemy, bounces back to Luigi, and you go like that, basically boomeranging it between you until the very end where it's built up a bunch of power, and Luigi does a big, huge kick at the very end. So it's really interesting to get all of those timings right, and they're fairly forgiving. I'll say this right up front, all of the timings in the game are generally pretty forgiving.
It's not an Until Dawn quick time event.
It's not that intense. But there is room for error. So I've definitely fucked up a few of those combos and been like, God damn, how?
Yeah.
It's so easy. I shouldn't be messing this up. But you can mess them up. But obviously these are just an example of some of those more powerful power-ups that you later get that make the mechanics a lot more fun. Those also have a cost. They basically cost mana. The game calls it BP, but there's not an unlimited amount of like red shells and green shells that you can use in game. Otherwise, you would just use them all the time.
Yeah.
There's also a little bit more mechanical interest here because enemies actually are a little bit more reactive than I initially thought they were going to be. They can actually defend, and they can do different things than you would think based on the tutorial stages. So initially it just seems like, okay, jump on the enemy 3 times, they die. Super duper easy. Not quite, because as you progress later in the game, you both encounter little scrubby, enemies, basic enemies around the map that will do different behaviors like, okay, well, you've just jumped on him, so he's going to guard his head now. Oh. So now you can't jump on him because it won't go through. You have to go in with either your hammers or one of your other special abilities. And then they'll do the reverse. Okay, well, you went at them with the hammer, so now they're going to stop guarding their head. Or you might encounter creatures that are just naturally immune to one of the two. Like there are these little things that just look like spiky, like mines, basically. Yeah. You can't jump on them. They're covered in spikes. You got to go at them with the hammers.
Yeah.
So there's just a little bit more to think about than you might initially think. And then when you get to the bosses are actually quite fun.
Okay.
So with both basic enemies and the bosses, there are actually a lot of different interactions that you can do here because in addition to your basic attacks from Mario and Luigi, the enemies they'll try to hit you back. And when they do, you can either just you can hold R to do a basic defend and basically lessen the damage when the attack lands, Or if your timing is a little bit better, you can either dodge the attack entirely, or you can like deflect it with the hammers.
Okay.
So you can, like, if you time a jump just right on a dodge with Mario, you'll land on the enemy that's attacking you and do them a little bit of counter damage instead of you taking the hit. So if your timings are good, you can get this sort of rhythm going really well where you're basically doling out damage and never taking any in return.
Okay.
But all of the enemies have different attacks. They mix it up on you. Like even the same enemies, like you can be fighting one little scrubby enemy and he might do one basic attack first and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be ready for it the second time.
Sure.
And then they come at you with a different attack and you're like, oh, okay, I got to be more on my toes about this. So you really do have to watch the enemy's behavior and learn their patterns to figure out what you're supposed to do in response.
That's cool.
And that is really dialed up to 11 with the bosses. The bosses are a lot of fun. They actually do have a lot of health. They get a health bar.
Yeah.
That's not normal to Mario games. So they actually get a health bar. You have to really space out. You have to really think about your attacks on them. And then there will usually be, we haven't gotten to this yet, but there will be special mechanics called, what does the game call them? They're called something special, but I'm just going to call them Luigi's thoughts.
Okay.
Because that's basically what they are. So the reason that you can't play this game two-player is because Luigi has enough autonomy that he will occasionally have like magical Luigi thoughts where he'll look at a situation and a little cutscene comes up and he's like really trying to get the brain juices going. He's like really thinking about it. And then he'll finally get the light bulb over his head and he'll be like, oh, I've got an idea.
Yeah.
So he will trigger these basically different QuickTime events or different events throughout the maps that trigger something specific to happen with either solving an environmental puzzle or with defeating a specific boss.
Okay.
So that's the reason you can't play it two-player, because Luigi occasionally has to have these special little Luigi thoughts that trigger usually massive damage in the case of a boss, or that allow you to solve an environmental puzzle. And if you were with another person playing the game, two-player couch co-op, that wouldn't function. You wouldn't be able to do that anymore. So that's why you can't play it two-player. Any questions?
No, I think that's all makes sense and everything and how it all works together. I think the one thing I'm wondering, is there any like time limit in the turn-based of the combat? Like how fast is it? Like, do you have like a timer that you got to make a decision on what your next move is, or can you just sit there and just like think about it all day long until you...
There's no timer, but as soon as you are done with Mario and or Luigi's turns, the enemies will act regardless of whether you're paying attention or not.
Okay.
So for example, I've done my attack with Mario. I think it's going to be Luigi's turn next, so I'll go and I'll start taking a drink of coffee. And then it's not, because one of the enemies actually had a faster speed stat than Luigi did, and I wind up missing a defend, and then Luigi takes a bunch of damage. And I'm like, fuck.
So you do have to kind of keep an eye on it, but like if it's a turn starts and it's Mario or Luigi's turn
you
to do
can just
combat,
sit there
you can
all
just
day.
sit there. Okay.
Yes, you can.
I was wondering
absolutely
if it brought in any urgency with it there.
There's a certain amount of urgency when it's the enemy's turn, but when it's not, you can just sit there all day.
Okay.
So that's sort of how combat works, and that really sort of is the meat of the game, is that you're mostly doing combat. There's a much smaller extent of platforming to the game. I will say that if you are expecting platforming nuance a la Mario Odyssey or even Mario Galaxy, you are not going to find it.
It's not that kind of game.
That is not what the point of the game is. The platforming is very, very basic. It is more puzzle-based than like platforming skill-based. It is very unfortunate because like in Mario Odyssey, Mario's long jump was so great for traversing the lands. The fact that you don't have long jump, you don't have backflip. It's like, I want those back.
Because you're so used to being able to have those abilities, and you're like, why is Mario not doing his little cute backflips?
He doesn't even go faster.
Oh my god!
So like when you just press forward, he doesn't even really run.
He doesn't Naruto run and throw his arms back behind him?
He doesn't do that. And he doesn't do triple jump.
Can you even call this a Mario game?
Like when you do jump and then he does the one big jump at the end, he doesn't do that.
Jesus.
It's just terrible. So that actually was really disappointing once that sort of sank in. That like, oh no, your movement blows in this game.
Yeah.
So what the game replaces that with are these other sort of exploration skills that Mario and Luigi get together. Like one of Luigi's little Luigi ideas that he popped while you're on this island of floating flowers. The floating flowers have little propellers on the bottom, and eventually you get to a gap that is too big for Mario or Luigi to jump on their own. But Luigi idea incoming. He gets the great idea of like, wait a second, if Mario and I do like a tango pose together and we lock arms and then we spin real fast, we'll turn into a little UFO and cross the gap together by just spinning real good.
Love it.
It's very stupid, but I also really, again, I just appreciate the flavor.
Yeah.
It's a dumb thing to include in the game, but I understand why they did it because it's kind of fun.
It's
kind
Mario
of fun,
and
actually.
Luigi as brothers.
Yes.
Building the bonds of their relationship
Exactly.
stronger to overcome their obstacles.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's about. And eventually, as you get further into the game, those types of options do get built on. Like, for example, you can't go very far in the Mario and Luigi hit X to spin Brothership. But if you eventually get to a place where there are little like air currents around, maybe you can get a bit more of a boost from that and you can keep your spin going longer and longer. You can get more height on it. So they do build on the abilities that they give you. They just get a little bit more intense, as you go through each different level or area of the game. But so that's the mechanics. The mechanics are more than I thought they were going to be at first, which is a thank God, because otherwise the game would have been far too simplistic. So let's talk about the stuff that I actually think makes the game really fun, because the combat is all well and good. I think the platforming is terribly boring, but exploring the islands is actually really fun.
Nice.
Because again, it all sort of comes back to that, the personality that the world of Concordia has, and the way, all of the care that they've put into the different islands and how much different personality each of them has. It actually, this might specifically be because of the gibberish way that the characters talk. It strikingly reminds me of Okami. Of all things. I think it's just the particular speech pattern that they have, but it's not just the speech pattern. I should preface that. Both the combination of the speech pattern that they have and the like incredible humor and whimsy of the flow of the conversations that you have with other characters, they hit that specific Okami chord of like being really whimsical and silly and just sort of having these like built-in sort of deadpan jokes to them that really reminds me of Okami of all things.
But now, correct me if I'm wrong too, but and I'm not saying this was intentional necessarily, but doesn't Brothership also kind of, and the art style of Okami somewhat mirror? Because I kind of feel like Brothership's art style almost looks like ink on manuscript with like brushstroke kind of.
That's not quite the case in this game, but it is closer. There is, it's a 3D game, but there are certain elements of it that have a very 2D look, and every now and then you'll get little cutscenes like Luigi's thinking animation, for example. It comes up on screen and it almost looks like a hyper 2D sticker almost in the way that it's moving, because it feels more like flat 2D animation. So I see where you're coming from with that. I would say that the game just sort of has sort of a not necessarily a skin on it, but it looks more storybook than it actually is, because it's 3D, it's fully 3D,
right?
But it feels kind of 2D sometimes. So I see where you're coming from with that. But anyways, just specific moments of the game will really remind me of Okami, and I think part of that also has to do with Snoutlet and the way that he sort of speaks for the brothers, because even when Mario and Luigi are having conversations with other characters, they're like, there's dialogue boxes. The dialogue boxes aren't even from the brothers. So basically Snoutlet has to come along and be like, what's that, Mario? You think we should blah, blah, blah? Or like, oh, Luigi, that's a great idea. We should blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, okay. Snoutlet has to be your mouthpiece here, because the brothers themselves, they're gibberish Italian flavored nonsense. That's not going over anybody else's head.
Doesn't translate to the rest of the world.
It doesn't translate. Although all of the other characters in the game, they can definitely understand the brothers just fine. So they just didn't want to have them talk, which I think is a choice. What a funny choice.
You gotta save on that on the voice acting bill, I guess.
I thought at least Luigi might talk.
Yeah.
But no, not even him. Or at least have like dialogue text boxes, but no, neither of them get it. So I think that's very funny.
I think it would have been very fun to sit in then for the voice acting of video recording for this, because there's like, okay, now say Luigi, say it sadder. Say it more excited.
Now say it like you're panicking. It's really, yes. I can imagine.
That was 5 minutes, you're done.
All right, done.
Bills for an hour.
That's definitely how I would love to have said it on
Right.
this. But so it's a very silly game. I think that the charm of it is really actually quite impactful. You know, you might think that in a game like this, the story sort of isn't why you're playing it.
Right.
But actually, I'm kind of at the point where, like, I do want to know where the story goes.
How will Concordia come back together?
I'd want to know how it comes back together.
Yeah.
So this is the other thing that's really, like, thematically as a choice, I think it is an S tier choice. When you get to the other islands, like when you get to any other island and you get to its lighthouse and you reconnect it to the ship, you know how that happens? You know how that connection happens?
How?
So the lighthouse is Mario and Luigi basically pull out a cord from the lighthouse, and then they jump on it, and they surf on the waves of Connector like a rocket ship back to the Brothership, and they like plug it back into the uni tree.
Oh my God.
But it's all like very metaphorical because it's just sort of like, it's Connector. It's just sort of a string of light and energy. It's not actually a physical thing, but you like went through this whole process to do this hilarious reconnection cutscene, and honestly, it doesn't get old. I love the
It's still great
cutscene.
every single
It's
time.
still great every single time. I think it's awesome. And then when you're done, Mario and Luigi like do a little dance and they high five and they cheer and then they hug, and I'm just like, yeah, I love this
Party
crap.
time.
Party time. I love this. But then so you're on a ship, right? It goes through the oceans. And then you zoom out and you've got a little cadre of ships that are literally tied to your ship.
Yeah.
Just sort of floating behind you. So like I've only got, I think, 4 or 5 right now. But like as I'm going to get a bunch more islands. And eventually I'm going to have this whole hilarious flotilla of me as like basically a tugboat.
Yeah.
Just sort of pulling all these other islands
Incredible.
behind me. And just every time the camera zooms out, I'm like, this fucking rules. I'm so on board with this. I love this. I think the choices they made in the game are incredible. They also did actually try to integrate you more into the feeling of being on the ocean than I thought they would, because you know, run into other little NPCs and characters that are like, oh, hey, well, I'm actually really into coral reefs. And if you spot any while you're out there on the high seas, let me know. I'll give you something in return. So it's just sort of a little bit of extra incentive to occasionally go back to the telescope, look out over the horizon, feel a little bit more like you're on a literal ship.
Yeah.
Then the game, you know, they didn't necessarily need to do that. Do I like it? Yes, I love it. I love going and looking at the new reefs and then reporting back to my little person called Issa Rock, because you're literally looking at rocks for them. I think it's hilarious.
Oh, so good.
The flavor wins in this game are
Right?
just incredible.
That's incredible.
So I can't say that I think it is a groundbreaking game. I don't think it is. I think it follows the Mario and Luigi formula in a lot of ways. It's definitely different. If what you're used to are the Mario Odysseys of the world, this is going to be a definite departure from that. It's obviously not as platforming based, so if you're not there for the turn-based combat, you're probably not going to have a very good time. I don't think it's groundbreaking. I do think it is delightful.
That counts for a lot.
That counts for a lot in these trying times, Jared.
So
I was like,
Truer words.
I was like, what's going to be brain off, colorful, fun, low stakes, delightful? I need a game that fits all of those boxes. Brothership is coming through for me in a big way.
And isn't the soundtrack good too? Didn't you say that on the Discord?
Wow, thank you for bringing that up, Jared. Oh my God. The soundtrack rules. So the soundtrack, I mean, obviously most Mario games have great soundtracks.
Right.
Galaxy in particular had a really, really good soundtrack. Odyssey's was also quite good. But to be fair, I don't remember many of Odyssey's tracks. I remember a ton of Galaxy's. I feel like I'm going to have earworms from Brothership stuck in my head forever. The level up music, when you get to a level up and the level up music plays, I'm like, da, 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 da. It's so fun. It's very big band.
Ooh.
It's very like jazzy and big band.
Which I feel like kind of follows Odyssey. Wasn't Odyssey kind of that way too?
It's a little bit more like that as well. But you like each of the different islands also has their own little, flavor to it. But they've still got those very big band, like acoustic, orchestral feelings to them. But just very jazzy, very brass forward, and I love that about it. I think the soundtrack is phenomenal. I actually don't know who did the soundtrack. Hold on. Who did the soundtrack? The soundtrack was
Koji Kondo.
It wasn't. That's why it sounds so different. It was Hideki Sakamoto and Takauya Seo. Takauya? I feel
Very
like it's
cool.
Takaya Seo. Anyways, Hideteki Sakamoto and Seo-san are knocking it out of the park. The
need to go
soundtrack
listen to
is
it.
excellent. You should go listen to it. Look up the soundtrack. I really liked the one that plays on Rainforest.
Okay.
It's not Rainforest.
Rainforest.
There's no E in it, and it is spelled with a Y. So it's R-A-Y-N forest, Rainforest. All of the island names are very silly and fun, and I love the silly little denizens. One of the people that you have to help, he's like a dance guy, but he can't dance anymore because his pompadour ran out of hair gel.
Oh, no.
So the whole quest is you have to go free somebody from bugs in the forest to get her to make you the hair gel to bring back to the dance guy so he can re-up his pompadour and get his groove back to dance the dance that causes the spiral tree on that island to regrow, because if there's not enough dance power in the world, the trees won't grow. And I'm just like, yes, I love this.
Incredible storytelling.
I love this
the world
stupid
is all
shit.
connected.
This rules. So it's high key silly. It's as absurd as I wanted it to be. It's not gonna blow your mind, but it will be fun.
Very cool.
That's my Brothership first impressions.
Nice. Well, it sounds like it is an absolute delight.
And if that changes as I get through the rest of the game, I feel like this definitely is a game I'm going to beat.
Sure.
I can't imagine why I wouldn't, but we'll see about that.
That would be hilarious if you come back
Yeah.
in 2 weeks and you're like, never mind, I take
As
it
it
all back.
turns out, there was a lot of
sucked.
stuff later. So we'll see how that goes. Look forward to an update presumably soon-ish. We'll see how long it takes me to finish it.
Very cool. Well, if you have also played Mario and Luigi Brothership, we would love to hear your thoughts on the game as well. So, comment below wherever you're listening to or watching this episode. And of course, join us on our Discord, talk about it with us there, or send us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, hear your thoughts on this game, any other gaming questions or thoughts that you have and you'd love to share with us as well.
Do you think Erd Tree should be on the nominations? Tell us about that.
Hit us up in the comments and let us know your thoughts to this week's big gaming controversy. But until next time, everybody, this concludes this episode of Team Chat Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. And until next time, we will see you then with, and as one of your guests, wow, I flubbed that up, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
We'll see you all next time.